Alright, how's it going, CPC Dialga? We're here for the power rankings. This is Shonky Kong. I've got Gentle here with me,
Hello.
and Radio is also here.
Hi.
So we're just gonna go through and say what we think on the teams, and I've got a tier list here. It's pulled up on the screen right now, actually. And we'll rank the teams. These rankings are completely subjective. They mean literally nothing, or objective. Wait. I got it right the first time, and then I started thinking too much. But anyway, it is subjective.
Donkey's ratings are subjective. Gentle and I's ratings are objective.
Yeah.
True.
If there's one thing about me, it's that I'm always real.
But basically, where I was going with that is we had both the teams that were ranked in S tier last season didn't make the playoffs, so this can very easily be proven wrong. I think with
Well,
that said,
Player issue.
Yeah, skill
hey,
issue. Your team was broken, Drunky. You should have made playoffs. You just
I just
skill
am
issue.
bad at the game.
It'd be
Anyway,
like that.
we'll jump into it. Who are we starting with?
I do want to say you don't have the tier list pulled up on the screen
I
share on
know I don't
Discord.
right
You just
now.
have the okay. Okay. If you could add it at some point. Well, we're gonna start with Toby and Ronan since they're first and eighth on the thing.
Okay, so before we talk Toby's a little bit, our kind of initial thoughts, or at least Gentle and I, was that we obviously have the clear pieces here of just picking a bunch of really mons that do a ton of damage. Obviously, Alakazam Mega, Darmanitan and Galar, and Blaziken Mega that can all go really fast and fuck up your team. And then including multiple redirectors, in this case, Indeedee, Togekiss, and Tangrowth as the main ones, and then a couple pseudo supports with Umbreon and Empoleon. The main thing we saw here is, again, that strategy of just go fast, kill things, and have redirection as support is fundamentally an effective one, especially if your opponent does not prep correctly. It's something where it can sweep a game 2-0 very quickly. The main problem here, though, was that it is somewhat one-dimensional in that sense, in that you know what's coming every match. You know effectively what they're going to be going for.
Yeah, I mean, like another big thing here for me is that like the skill floor is really low on this. Like it's very hard to mess up a team like this. You just click buttons. But it's also like the skill ceiling is also very low. I think if your opponent out preps you, there's not much you can do about it. Like it's the one dimensionality, but it's also like there is no potential. I think to get like super creative. Obviously, there always is with Pokemon, but like I think getting creative just makes your team worse for the most part with this type of team.
Yeah. It For me, it's like I do think the skill is a little bit higher just because I think you can get a bit creative in terms of how you're actually managing a lot of these mons, because stuff like Darmanitan, Galar, and Blaziken Mega, I think, do have a lot of actual options that they can bring. Like obviously we know the sets that we see on them a lot, but it's one of those things where it's like if you predict wrong, whether it's like a double choice band or a choice scarf on Galar, you can get your entire prep fucked up by just having a calc wrong with that. And that's something that I do think is worth being thoughtful of, is that stuff like that where you just miss a single calc because someone went with a set that you didn't expect, even if it's just a minor variation like that, that does make a huge difference. But
Yeah. Also, it is worth mentioning that Darm Galar specifically is actually okay at using Belly Drum because after a Belly Drum, it's like really fast. I think there's like 140 base speed.
yeah,
So like Belly Drum, Rock Slide, Belly Drum, like spread moves will actually do some good work.
yeah. This is one of those things though where it's like if the opponent has a strong spread move, there's not a lot you can do.
It's
like
135, 135 base speed.
looking at this, if someone brings an opposing E-Force Mon that and they just put like a scarf on it or something, they can very quickly fuck over your entire team.
Yeah. If they're able to like imprison one of your mons as well, like imprison E-Force is a pretty common thing. So if they imprison that really sucks.
Yeah. So for me, I would say somewhere like high B is where I'm putting it. Again, skill
Yeah.
four is low, and that it is something where it can roll over teams. But I just don't think I think the fundamental problems of like this is not something that's necessarily super hard to prep for, and it has clear ways to break through it. So
Yeah, I was thinking B plus myself, like low B plus. So high
yeah,
B, low B plus, I'm
Yeah.
fine with.
yeah,
Something I did want to ask before we put this on the list is when I look at this team, it kind of seems like it has a lack of speed control. Like Togekiss gets Tailwind, but it wants to do other stuff. Same thing for Indeedee with Trick Room, kinda. Do you think that matters for this team? Because like Darm Galar can run Scarf and Blaze can get speed boost. Mega Zams
It's
are pretty
certainly not.
fast.
It's certainly not a non-factor that has bad speed control, but I think it like matters a lot less with a team that does like so much damage because they're like, okay, you're gonna set up Tailwind, but I'm gonna kill both your mons if you do that. So like it can
I
be okay if you
I
play it correctly.
I do agree with Shranky that I think that is a major factor for me in that like because say they lead like two very offensive mons, but against a prankster tailwind mon, if someone just sets up tailwind and then kills one of your mons before it can ever move, like because Alakazam, Blaziken, and Darmanitan are things that you can reasonably OHKO. They're not that
Yeah,
strong in terms of defenses. So I think it's very easy to put yourself in an immediately losing position if you go behind a single mon.
I think there are 3 teams with Prankster Tailwind this season, if I'm not
There's
mistaken,
there's four.
and then there's an Iron Jugular.
There's none of the Prankster Tailwind users are good. Like it's Illumise, Volby, Murkrow, and
They're not
Cottonee, I
good, but they
think.
don't need to be for this. They just
Yeah,
need to set tailwind, and then you
yeah.
pick up a mon and
Zam is incredibly frail. It'll die to like a rock slide.
yeah.
Okay.
And it's just not hard to tech moves for fire or ice in terms of defensive typing.
Yeah. Also, like again, like the Zam being so frail on the physical side means that it's actually not that good at using redirection because like you redirect with an DD, they click Rock Slide or Earthquake, and then you just die.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's reasonable. I was
Yeah, I'd say low B plus. That's where I'd put it.
okay. Fair enough. I was thinking around B too. So that
I
works
say
for me.
B, but
I think Zam Mega has like so much power behind it that I'm willing to give it like the B plus like benefit of the doubt because also Togekiss is really good mon.
You guys can
fair.
see the tier list on the screen share right now, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
sweet. All right.
All right.
Guess we're moving on to Ronan then.
Yeah, I'll start.
Okay.
I will say the first thing that pops out to me, very good speed tiers. I like the speed tiers across the board. I don't know if Grotle is like a real Pokemon, but like everything else is pretty solid. Couple of good low tiers. 4 redirectors. Holy shit, Ogerpon probably. And I think there's like a lot of solid options here, but nothing really screams out like this does immediate damage, and this team is very like setup focused with Quiver Dance, Volcarona, and Shell Smash, Blastoise. Blastoise can do Water Spout, but without like Prankster Tailwind, it's actually kind of hard to get that off consistently. And I just don't really see this team like having the immediacy that you sometimes need in draft. So like when there's an opportunity to set up, this team will do really well with like Screens, Dragapult, like 4 redirectors, Quiver Dance, all that. It's got a lot going for it in that way, but it doesn't really have the like immediate power that you sometimes need to break through teams like Toby's. Like this team would really struggle with Toby's team specifically.
Yeah, I definitely agree with all of that. I think, as you pointed out, throughout their entire team, they have a lot of stuff that they can always reasonably use. But like the one thing that they have that does like very immediate damage is Dragapult. But Dragapult is one of those ones where it's like it does immediate damage in a sense, but it's something that I think often just misses KOs. And it's like, well, okay, you miss one KO and it's very easy to start putting more damage than a team really can deal with. So again,
Mm-hmm.
to me, I agree with Gentle's kind of take on it. It's very hard to break through high offense teams with this because you need that turn of setup and you just don't have anything that can stop them before they roll you over.
Yeah, if this sort of team had something like Torn, perhaps like something like that, where it's like a really fast but also like relatively offensive mon, I think it'd be a lot better. Just like having the option to set Tailwind and go damage immediately. But I think Volcarona and Corviknight to Tailwind setters is just not great.
Yeah, and I mean, even with the thing is like Blastoise Mega can do a lot of damage, but most of the time it does need the Shell Smash to do it. Even like a Tailwind Water Spout, a lot of times isn't picking up KOs outright. It does a lot of really good chip, but I don't think it does picks up KOs outright a lot of the time. So it's very hard, even like if you get the Tailwind up, but to just put things away before they can start wrecking through your team.
Yeah, Blastoise Mega is usually best when paired with something that's even more offensive than it, so that you can, because like it's the classic thing of like when you see an Azumarill next to a Gengar or something, or a Kangaskhan, you're gonna fake out the Kangaskhan and ignore the Azumarill, but then it clicks Belly Drum. Like that sort of thing is what you want with like you want
Yeah, or
Blastoise to be like a follow me mon that can also Shell Smash rather than a Shell Smash mon that can also follow me.
yeah, or you just pick up good chip and then have something to clean. Where it's like, but here the only thing that can really clean is Dragapult, and again, it
Weavile
just
okay.
doesn't have great options for cleaning. I just don't think Dragapult is really filling that role.
Weavile's a fine cleaner. It's just like really inflexible. Like if
It's
it's
fine,
saturated
but it's
working, it's
also
kind of
relying on
engaging.
triple axle and single target moves, and I don't love that.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think B tier. I think B. maybe B plus. I could see this being better than Toby's.
I'm okay with B. I personally would like Toby's more just because I think it's more likely to make playoffs. But if you ask me like in playoffs, which one is more likely to win, I'd probably say Ronin's. But eh.
I think Toby's probably has a higher floor, but like Ronan, if you can find a way to like set up like Blastoise, Volcarona consistently, then his team's gonna be really good. Which
Yep.
with 4 redirectors, that'll be easy enough in some matchups. So
Yeah, but
um,
that's relying on your opponent to make a mistake in prep. Is like not properly prep for that. Anything that's like reliant on boosting just invites haze
so we're
because you
saying
can't redirect haze. I think top of
B.
B is where I'd put it. Like not quite B
hmm
plus.
I can't find it.
Cool with that.
No, I can't find it. I'm so stupid. Oh, there it is.
There you go. Do you want to get us started on Frazil?
Sure. For Zeal,
I'll
I
look at the
think.
type chart, not the speed chart. Like, scroll down. There you go.
Um, for Zeal, I think they've got like an okay Sun team here. I don't know if I like Incineroar as their only S tier pick. Like I would have rather had it be basically anything else. Um, I think well they're a little bit ground weak, but they do have 2 immunities. Um, I don't think this is like a bad team. I just think it's like an okay Sun team. I don't think Ninetales is great here. Like I would have rather seen like Megazard, but I think that was gone by then. So,
It
and I don't
was.
think this is like terrible by any means. I would say like B plus. Like Sun is just really strong.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, oh, you go, you go.
I was gonna say, yeah, I think a lot of the things they got are like decent in variety, but this is not a Sun team that really wants variety that hard. This is not the kind of comp that needs those specific things. Like specifically Incineroar and Venusaur Mega. Like Venusaur Mega is nice because you can run normal Venusaur with Chloroform or the Venusaur Mega. But this team just like you could have just gone Venusaur and you would have been fine, and then had
Mhm.
room for another Mega or something else to work with. And the same with Incineroar. It's a very good mon. It's just not something that Sun really needs.
Yeah, I would say it's like Incineroar also like not even just for Sun, just in draft in general is a lot worse, just because like Covert Cloak and Clear Amulet exist, and that makes it very hard for it to do its job when your opponent is specifically prepping for it. It's also like I think that like the speed tiers are the big thing for me because if Sun is ever not up, this team is really slow and doesn't do amazing damage. Like you need Sun for both of those things to be true, and that just means that this team as a whole to me feels really passive. Like if the Sun isn't up, which can be accomplished with there are a lot of prankster users this season, and a lot of them have rain dance, so that sort of thing will just ruin this team. I think. I don't really like Venusaur Mega because I think the main difference between it and regular Venusaur is not being able to run Focus Sash, and Venusaur loves running Focus Sash, so that really sucks.
I would like to mention for the ground weeks there are 3 ground immunes actually: the Orthworm, Braviary, and Mismagius.
Yeah, Miss
I
Magius was a
miss
good low
you.
tier pick. Like they have a couple of good picks here. I just feel like they're not connected well. I feel like the connective tissue is like very poor. It's basically just like Ninetales trying to hold the team together. It
Yeah,
doesn't
it's
really
like you
work.
have 5 mons that you're doing kind of Sun stuff with, and then the rest of it are just kind of there.
Yeah, I again, Incineroar as an S tier just makes basically no sense on this team, even out of the context of just draft. Like as you said, it's a Sun team
Yeah.
because what Sun team does not need is another fire type that can't do big damage.
Yeah. All right. So I'm personally say I think this is like B minus.
Well, we don't have B minus, we have C tier, so I think C
Yeah.
tier. It's not
Yeah.
like awful, but awful would be like D tier. I don't think there are any D tier teams this season, so
Yeah. I just think it has a lot of clear fundamental flaws. And
yeah,
so
it's gonna like you're gonna have to prep out of your mind to get average value out of this team.
That seems fair enough. Um, okay, so on to Riot. I think Gentle, I'll let you start with this one because I know you helped build it.
Yeah. Well, I did help build this, so I'm a little biased. I know that Riot is a very straightforward type of player who enjoys a little bit of that cheese, which is why the Smeargle is here. But Smeargle Gengar is just there to be really fucking annoying, and then the Meowstick is also there to be really annoying. Iron Valiant is a really high value A tier pick, and there's like a lot of good value here. I think that after discussing it with Radio, I do agree that the team kind of struggles with like being a little frail, and not having the damage output to justify that a lot of the time. Because you kind of need Genesect to get the correct boost in order to like feel like this team has crazy good offense, in my opinion. And it's good offense, but it's not great offense, and it's fine bulk, but it's not great bulk, and like those two things don't really support each other very well. The speed tiers are fine. A lot of solid like lower tier picks, especially, but overall, I would say this team is like probably a B for me.
Yeah, just going off of what I was talking to Gentle about earlier, I mentioned in a like kind of in the core mons, it's very easy for one of these mons to trade in a way that's not favorable to you. Like say Gengar Mega is a very good mon, but a lot of times it doesn't outright pick up the KO, and it's very easy to tech to get things to get KO on it in return. And so in that case, you're trading unfavorably. I think that's true a lot of times for Genesect, Smeargle, Iron Valiant, as the like 4 top tier picks they had effectively. I think it's very easy to just kind of spiral out of control in a bad way. So to me, I would agree B probably, because again, I do think it does have the tools, but I think you have to play really well or get a little bit lucky to have those tools work at their best.
Yeah, I would agree with that assessment. I just feel like the three main attackers here, Gengar, Iron Valiant, and Genesect, are all really frail. I mean, Genesect I don't think
Genesect
is
isn't that frail.
horribly
It's a lot
frail,
weak.
but um, so I think, like Radio said, if I feel like this team matches can spiral out of control like pretty poorly for Riot if like one thing goes wrong. I don't know if that made sense, but
Yeah, yeah.
that would be my assessment. I would also say B, maybe B plus.
I don't think it's quite B plus. I think that the main issue, like fundamentally, is that there's just not enough damage output.
Yeah, because
Mhm.
realistically, the highest damaging things are Gengar and Genesect. Gengar is one that just doesn't pick up OHKOs a lot of the time, despite how good its special attack is. And Genesect, again, is relying on the download going right, which is something that someone with good prep can easily fuck up.
Well, yeah, you say it's equally good at doing physical and special, but it usually leans physical because of U-turn and E-speed. But if you call it wrong,
Yeah, so again, but for me, again, that's where it's kind of coming down into luck.
yeah,
But
it's just
it's possible for someone to tech well into dealing with the problem. So
yeah,
it's not something I love as a major like offensive threat.
yeah. I'd say right below Ronan because I think Ronan is top of B for me.
Fair,
He's
fair
Okay.
also the
and
only one
true.
without a logo.
Yeah,
He's the
I do want to
most
see
noble.
what the Drunken Fisters logo would be.
Hmm.
I was thinking of like a Pangoro that's just like drunk off its ass on berry juice.
Oh, I was thinking Cabrawler. I guess similar idea.
I don't know. Pangoro just like I'm because it just screams more drunken piss to me. Because Crabrawler is like a boxing thing in my
Yeah,
brain.
I just I just think that Cabrawler looks drunk all the time to me.
Fair enough. It's also found in it's prevos in all the berries, so
True.
see it.
I think Radio starts for this one on comb.
Okay, on comb. Okay, so I think personally this is a very good team. I really like it. Partially this because I think there's a lot of versatility it has. Like just looking at the top 6, Raging Bolt, Chi-Yu, Banette Mega, Tauros, Sylveon, Bronzong are all mons that can do a lot of really interesting things. And I think that's really cool because like Chi-Yu, great as a Scarfer, great for using Snarl, great for using Covert Cloak. Like Raging Bolt obviously has a lot of different sets it can run because it's a fucking bonkers mon. Banette Mega, both offensively very valuable and prankster. Tauros is just very useful. Sylveon is very useful. Bronzong, the goat. I love Bronzong. And then
Yeah,
even at the lower picks, I think Arboliva is great at just fucking with terrain teams. Palucha can get going with Invert and stuff. Wartortle, if you really need redirection. With Eviolite, it's not even the worst redirector out there. And then Avalok, Strudel, and Herdier do exist. I'm less big on them. Strudel has prankster stuff, but whatever. But I
I
just
know.
think there's a lot you can do with this team. Like you can play balance, you can play hyper offense, you can play trick room stuff. I just think there's tons of options, and all of the mons on it I think do synergize very well. ground can be a bit of an issue, but with Arboliva to set grassy terrain if you need it, I don't think that's actually that big. So I just think it's a great team overall. I would say high A.
I'd like it a lot more if you could skill swap Photosynthesis, because being able to skill swap Bronzong's Levitate onto Raging Bolt sounds like a nightmare, but unfortunately you can't do that.
Yeah, no,
Um,
that would make it like it's winning the league. That'd be so fucking annoying.
I think it's a good team. I don't know if I agree with you with how high you place it. I would put it in like A tier personally, not A plus. Mostly just due to the fact that I think the speed tiers are a little lacking. That's like the big issue for me is that like, yeah, Thunderclap is good. Like, yeah, Banette has Prankster, but it doesn't have any like you have Prankster Scary Face. I think is his only form of speed control. So like that's a little awkward. I don't really like the Tricker mode that much. I think that like Bronzong Arboliva is just a very passive Tricker mode. So like yes, Bronzong can set Tricker, but it's really
What
bad.
I was thinking for Trick Room mode is Bronzong Sylveon and then Bennett Mega.
That's true. But Sylveon is good, but yeah, Sylveon's good. It's just like I don't think Sylveon's gonna be like justifying running Trick Room over like because you have to either like not be running your Chiyu and your Tauros and stuff, which I think is more central to the team, or the matchup has to call for it. Like this person has no matchup for Trick Room,
To,
so I'm doing Sylveon Trick Room mode.
to be fair, for me, I think you could easily, as a Trick Room mode, bring the only one I wouldn't really love in Trick Room is Chiyu of the top like 6 mons they have.
I
Any of
guess
the other
Tauros has
ones,
Intimidate. That's true. So Intimidate's always useful.
yeah, Taurus I think you could always bring.
I think Shroodle's a little redundant. I don't really. I guess it's
Yeah,
just
I
like
was like,
it's an
whatever.
F tier, so it doesn't matter. Like it really doesn't matter. It's just like you have Vanette too. Um, I don't know. I don't really think there's any like huge flaws here. The type chart's a little weird in some spots. Like I don't really like the that Chiyu is like Chiyu and Bronzong are only two psychic resists. So versus Psystam, if those two mons get taken out, or specifically Chiyu, because Bronzong can't really do much in like back to Psystam. So if
Yeah,
Chiyu
to
gets
be
taken
fair,
out,
but I think Scarf Chiyu Snarl is just such a
that's true.
bonkers
That's
thing into
true.
Psy spam that it's like, well,
Yeah, I am nitpicking. I do agree it's a good team. I just looking for the reasons that it's A and not A plus. Yeah, I'd say A. I would say like top of A, maybe A plus. I could see like low A plus.
I do have, well, my main question is you guys talked a little bit about the trick room mode. Like, how reliable, like, do you think they'll be able to get that off? Because their
Mm.
only fake out user is War Turtle, their only redirector is also War Turtle, and like War Turtle
Yeah, I
Bronzong is
mean,
just a very passive lead.
well, what
see,
I
I'm
said
of
is that the only reason you would go Trick Room mode is that their team has no matchup. Like the opponent has no matchup for Trick Room, which is why it works. Because Bronzong, like if you just run Mental or Bronzong, it'll be able to set up Trick Room really consistently, just because your opponent has no matchup for it. It's not like this team's main mode is Trick Room, or like this team has like a real true Trick Room mode to me. So like that's
yeah.
kind of okay.
To me, it's just like, well, you can just always throw Bronzong in the back, and if your opponent messes up, or you can set up for an end game where you just set Trick Room and they've set up Tailwind or something. I think that's always useful. So to
Yeah.
me, it's like it's not a true Trick Room mode, but it's something where it's like, oh, you have to actually be wary that they just brought Bronzong and they'll set up on you and you'll lose because of it. So it's like
Hmm.
it's not something where it's like, oh, you're gonna hardly Trick Room. It's just like, oh, that's what an end game you're working towards, or that's something where they just don't have a matchup.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Yes, that.
I don't like the what's called War Turtle being the only fake out user. That is a pretty big issue for me. But other than that, I think the team is fine.
Okay. You guys said A, high A. I would personally say A.
Yeah, I'm leaning more towards high A than A plus because I feel like the lacking good fake out user is a pretty big flaw.
Okay, so we're in agreement on A then?
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, top of A seems fair to me.
And then we'll go on to Disco Bean.
Yeah, you can start.
Okay, yeah, this is another Sun team, but there's just like, I would say like the overall core is stronger. There's just like so much like type overlap. I think three fires, two grass. I guess that's not terrible. Um, but like, um, Lilligant and Scovillain, I don't know if I pronounced that right. Feels a little bit redundant. I know Scovillain gets Rage Powder. Um, there's also Vileplume. Vileplume and Lilligant is definitely redundant. I like the core of like Victini, Charizard, and Great Tusk. I feel like that's just a lot of offense will be very tough to deal with. Mr. Mime is a good low tier. I don't know. I feel like this is it's strong enough, but there's just like so much overlap and so much like obvious flaws that it feels like relatively exploitable in prep.
Yeah, I feel like it's less the type overlap for me and more the role overlap. There's like too many mons that do the same thing, where it's like, you have three different chlorophyll mons. You have like you have like two different. I mean, I guess Quiver Dance isn't real in Lilligant, but like a Lilligant isn't really real unless you have Torkoal. In my opinion, I don't think it's worth it. It's like because like the only thing it really does that's like unique as a chlorophyll user is after you, and then other than that, it's just a generic sleep powder leaf storm kind of guy, and like that's fine, but like it's not interesting or like something that they don't already have because they also have Vileplume and Scovillain for doing the chlorophyll duties. This team is like very committed to Sun, which I think can be okay. Like I think being very committed to Sun can definitely be okay, especially since they have like Life Herd to reset Sun like with Prankster. It just seems like it's a very like fuck it we ball type of team where it's like if the Sun ever goes down, this team just immediately dies, kind of similar to the other team, but it has a better core than the first Sun team we looked at. So it's like I think probably I'm gonna say top of B plus. That's where I'd put it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys have already covered basically everything I want to say. One of my issues, though, is that Victini and Great Tusk are both things that I think often really want to run Scarf to be able to outspeed stuff in Sun because their
Yeah, that's
chlorophyll
true.
users aren't really that offensive. So
Scovillain can be.
it can be, but it's not something I think that is overwhelming. Like
Yeah, it just clicks overheat.
yeah, but it's just so for me, it's just like it's one of the things where it's like you're having so many role overlaps, and there's so many like clear like if Liber dies and Sun goes down, it's just oh cool game over. So it gives people a lot of very linear game plans to go for, which is just not something I love because it's not super hard, especially with things that are probably going to be choice locked a lot of the time to just do decent pivoting and
Yeah.
get through it. So
Also worth mentioning, this seems like super special. So like white
yeah.
screen.
So it's just one of those things where it's like I think you're gonna get out prepped almost every time.
Yeah, it's very linear for sure.
Yeah. So I'm of like I think this is like I think I would say personally like very low B or C tier.
Oh, that's really low for me. I think it's like much better than the other Sun team, just by virtue of like having a better core.
It
And like
does, but I think it's the other Sun team. I think at least like if you set up Rain, they can via Walking Wake, Venusaur, and Incineroar at least are mons that like can
yeah, they
live
have like a
through
balanced
that
core. That's true.
and like actually still play the game. I think this one is like oh if you lose Sun, your team just does not exist.
Could we compromise and do like high B tier? What do you think of that, Frankie?
That's fine for me. Do you think
I think it's
above?
better than Ronin.
Oh, it's better than Ronan.
Would you be
Okay.
okay with that, Radio?
I don't think it's better than Ronan.
Okay, I'm down for it being below Ronin. I do think it's better than Brain Fart Riot's team.
Mm, I'll accept that.
All right, moving on to Matthew and Buff Pun. Buff Bun. I guess I'll start. So I will say first off, Matthew's core really really good. I think that like specifically Metagross, Sneasler, Fluttermane is going to be really really annoying to deal with, and then you've got like really annoying support pieces to support that with like Morcram and Hitmontop. Tapu Bulu is like an excellent choice scarf user. Vivillon is a pretty good cheap redirector that also has friend guard. And then you like have that like there's this hidden like friend guard Moltres mode where like Moltres clicks nasty plot and you have friend guard with it and then it gets berserk. It can be a little scary. There certainly will never be any Moltres slander in this server specifically, but like I definitely think Moltres is like not that great for this team. But that's like the only thing that really stands out to me. Everything else I think is like a really good pick. I don't Toxapex is cheap, so it doesn't really matter. Cleffa is F tier, so it doesn't really matter. Everything else seems like really solid.
Yeah, personally, I think it's a very solid made team. Like obviously, as mentioned, the core is really strong. I think they also just have got a lot of great supports for very good value. Like Hitmontop for the value it's at, I think is great. Like you just have a lot of things you can do with it. Then also Vivillon, Morgram, Gothorita, and Toxapex are all very usable mons for where they're at. So I think they did a great job, especially with the value of their team. I do think there's a little bit like it's one of those things where I think there's so many options that you may be pressed to make a bad choices in prep because you think it's
Mm,
interesting, which is like that's something where it is really dependent on player skill. But it's one of the things where it's like I think you sometimes you'll like you'll be like, oh, Vivillon Moltres is I can go for nasty plots, where it's like you don't need to go something that complex. You don't need that many moving parts.
Yeah, that's fair. I think it's like one of those things where it's like it's a really complex team, and that can both like it's a double-edged sword where it can either like cut you because you like got two in the sauce, or it can cut your opponent because they just didn't know what to prep for.
Yeah. I don't know. I do think I'd say probably this one is A though, because I think
Yeah,
there's just a lot of value you can get out of all of these mons. I think they did a great job drafting, especially in their lower tiers.
I do kind of wish they had a dragon for their fantasy core, but that's really the only complaint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, they have a lot of type weaknesses, but that doesn't matter with an offense team.
All I've got to say about this one is that it has Galarian Moltres, so it's S tier and is winning the league.
Fair enough. It's already won. Why are we even
Yeah.
doing this?
Yeah, their team does have quite a lot of type weaknesses looking at it, but like, oh, the flying weakness is actually quite bad. But other than the flying weakness, it looks fine. Yeah, but again, it's probably fine. I think that there's like enough fundamental value to like put it in A tier. Definitely below Combs though. I think Combs is better.
Okay. Radio, are you okay with that?
Yeah.
All right. On to Buff Bunny then.
Buff Bun. I think it's Radio's turn to start.
Okay. So we have Buff Bunny's team. Personally, I don't love this team. Like I get what it's going for, but to me it's just like I don't think any of these bonds do enough of the thing that they're trying to do. I think for a team core like this, like I'm going to compare it to Arabega, even though that's not really what it is, but I'm going to compare it to that. You really need something that's just so absurdly powerful that you can build the team around it and abuse off of it. And I like Urshifu, Single, and Coco are very, very good, but they're not that. They just aren't.
Yeah, they're more
And
balanced than
so
Jason.
yeah, so I'm just not like in love with it. I think it's like B tier because these mons can all do good things and they're genuinely good mons, but I just don't think you can build a team that like the structure in this way. Because I think it's too easy for it's like, oh, someone else just built a slightly more offensive team or slightly bulkier team or just goes any one direction where it will do slightly better than what you are doing. And I don't think it's necessarily super hard to do that.
Yeah, my big comment is holy fighting weakness, Batman. That is so many fighting weak mons. To be fair, two of them, Lucky Tongue and Bunny, are not real, but everything else is like I don't know. Having your mega like two of your best offense mons and like one of your best setup sweepers. Like I guess Shiftry's not really setup, but you know what I mean, like Sun mode. Having all of that be like weak to a common like Scarf typing is really hard.
Mhm.
Um, I don't really like their fake out because Shiftry is their only fake out, and I don't really think that that's going to pair very well with basically anything else on their team. Which means that like in essence, this team doesn't have fake out to me. Yes, you can fake out with Shiftry, but you either have to bring like
You have to
Cottony and
use
set up Sun a
Shiftry.
bit. You have to bring Cottony and set up Sun, or you have to like use not Sun Shiftry, and both of those are bad. Like it has wind power, but like what's your tail end setter? Like it's Cottony, so you're gonna bring Cotton. You have to bring like Cottony, and that's your. You have to bring two relatively like what's called incongruent mons with the rest of the team. It just feels like there's not a lot of cohesion with like the fake out user and the rest of the team. So I would say no fake out. And I agree that like electric terrain, you really do need something that like either A nukes or B it's a balanced team. And I don't really think that like Manectric Mega is the greatest nuke. Yeah, I mean like 135 base speed, rising voltage is cool and stuff, but if they have like any form of speed, like what's called terrain control, it could be a problem.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of Frigoraph here?
It's okay. They don't really
Graph
have a
is
trigger mode.
it's just a cool mon, but yeah, as Gentle said, they don't have a trigger mode at all, and also like they don't really need prio blocking. Like it's nice to get rid of fake out and stuff, but this isn't something where it's like that's really really needed.
Yeah, I guess it can helping hand Manectric and use rising voltage to pretend that it's Maridon for a turn, and that's neat, I guess.
It is, but it's also like I bringing Coco Manectric and then like when you have like Iron Treads and Urshifu, that's you click Earthquake so much. It's so free.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's another thing. Is like there's a lot of missing resists from the best mons. Like you have to dip into your lower tiers to get certain resists, like, especially the ground.
Yeah, and a lot of these lower tiers are just things where I'm like, that's not real. Like,
Yeah, Tawny's kind of real, but like Shift tree needs a Sun team to be real, and this is not a
Yeah.
Sun team.
Cottony's the only one that's kind of real. Togetic is like it's real if you absolutely need a redirector, and I don't. I
Yeah,
even then it's like ah.
I think it's real for a redirector. It's just that this team doesn't want redirection to me. Like I prefer either a more like bulky balanced version of this team or like potentially going the route of. Oh, also we didn't even mention it. It's dual Mega, and I don't think you're ever really incentivized to bring Mega Gyarados because like you're bringing Mega Gyarados on an electric terrain team, it'll just get one shot by every electric move. You have to bring like base Main Trick to do that, which like yeah you can, like that's certainly an option, but I don't think it's very good. It just 2014 notwithstanding.
They should have had Pachirisu.
True.
Yeah, I think that covers all my thoughts. I think that personally, I think it's like B tier. That's about it.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. I'd say like mid or low B tier. You have any thoughts, Frankie?
I think you guys mostly covered it. I think it was Gentle. Said didn't feel very coherent, and that was my main thought on
Yeah,
it.
it's very
Um,
disjointed for sure.
It's to me. It's disjointed because I feel like it's trying to cover a bunch of concepts that have done well in BGC before, but it's not quite hitting any of them.
Yeah, that's true. It's like yeah, yeah, like, that basically covers it. It's like Urshifu's good, but why is Urshifu good?
Yeah, gotta dig a bit deeper.
I'd be willing to put it in B. I think it's probably bottom of B though.
Yeah, I'd say probably a little worse than Riot's team, just like right below it.
Okay,
Okay. What's next?
Joseph Fang.
I
Um,
think it's
yeah.
Radio's turn to start.
Okay, Joseph Fang's team. So I'm not in love with this at all. King Gambit is a scarily good mod, and but all of the other things here I think are like they're good. They're in their tiers for a reason, but I think they're in their tiers for a reason when you have very specific teams. To me, none of this really works together. Like Reuniclus Camerupt is a TR mode, I guess, and is TR mode that can do things. But like, I don't really want to have to bring like King Gambit, Pheromosa, Reuniclus, Camerupt, or like, and DD Mail isn't really a TR mon. So all of this is just like it's just not stuff that I love. Side Train plus Gambit with Sucker Punch is you always want to be clicking Sucker Punch. There's just nothing here that really works together and makes like a super coherent team concept. There's a lot of good mons that can do things well when they're in the right place, but I just don't think the right place is here.
Yeah, I also think it's worth mentioning this team is like super ground weak. Like Pheromosa is not a resist to anything because it's so frail. So like realistically, you have one ground resist, and it's Masquerain, who is a mid tier. Like it is dire out here for like this team just gets like earthquake spammed or like any ground type move will do really well into this team. I
Yeah.
don't really like the choice of Mega. I think Mega Camera forces them to go like Trick Room when the rest of their team doesn't super want to do that. I love King Gambit. It's such a good mon. I think that like Psychic Terrain is possibly the worst comp you could put King Gambit on, just because like Sucker Punch is its main move. Like that is what King Gambit does. Like Sword Stance, Sucker Punch, knockoff. That's what it does. That's all it does. So
And
if you're
like
gonna remove that ability,
I think it is falling into the trap of thinking King Gambit is a TR mon, which it just isn't. Gambit does
it's a
not
mon
work.
that it's a mon you can treat TR with, but it's not its main job. Its main job is Click Sucker Punch. And also Okidogi, I think is very similar in like gameplay to like I think Okidogi is very similar in gameplay to King Gambit in terms of like bulky physical attacker that you want to like put a lot of support on that is a pretty crippling quad weakness. But you make the quad weakness worse by putting it on psychic terrain, and you don't really need the guard dog because you have defiant.
Yeah.
Um, I agree with the King Gambit and Psychic Terrain. That was also my main takeaway from this team. I'm also just not a super huge fan of the Trick Room mode. Like the mons are fine on like by themselves, but there's just not like I don't think there's a way you're gonna be getting it off consistently. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
no redirection. The fake out users are kind of mid. I should say fake out user in DD mail is not an actual fake out user.
Yeah,
Um, so I just don't love it for that. Yeah, you've got like for most of the speed swap stuff, but I don't think that's very like reliable. I would say this is probably C tier.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree. C tier.
I'd put it below Brazil.
That's fair. I think Frazil has a much more like coherent team concept.
Yeah. All right, I can't start on this one, so I guess Drunky does.
Okay.
I don't really want to be the first one to talk about my team.
Yeah.
No, go for propaganda.
I feel like this is pretty good balance. Like, you got a lot of things you can do with it. You got the Disquake mode. You got two really, really good fake out users. Like, two of the best like
Why does
fake
it
out
say I have
users
Venusaur?
on
I
the
don't have
tier list.
Venusaur. Hold on.
What's
I
that?
fucked it up, I think.
Oh.
So yeah, it doesn't show Venusaur on mine.
I don't have Venusaur.
Yeah, because you don't have. I mean, it's not. You don't have Venusaur on my screen.
Oh, it's on mine and hold on, let me go check the thing. Is my team wrong on the thing? No, it's just for
Um,
some reason Stakataka was replaced with Venusaur. Anyways, there we go. Does it pop up properly for you?
yeah, I've
There you
got
go.
Stack Attack on mine.
That's my actual team.
I do like that. You have Stack Attacka, and then basically the rest of the team covers its quad weaknesses pretty well. Um, yeah, I don't really have much to say. I feel like this is just a very good, like, versatile balance team. Um, I'd probably put it A, maybe A plus.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, I helped make this, so again, I'm also quite a bit biased in saying it.
Less
But I
biased than
do
me.
think, yeah. So, but like for me, I do think it just has a great balance core. Rillaboom, Kangaskhan, obviously two of the best fake out users in that they can do fake out pivoting, and then they're also just do a ton on their own. Volcanion is an amazing balance mon. It's one of the few mythicals I actually like genuinely respect. And then Stack Attack and Kilowattrel are both like great at doing tail room, and everything on this team can do tail room, which is
Hmm.
very nice to have. And then a lot of even the lower tier picks, I think like Excelgor, Passimian, Gardevoir, I think are all very useful. Gardevoir can run a lot of useful sets. Excelgor works great with terrain. Passimian can do a ton of stupid stuff with receiver.
And
So
Scarf. Its main thing
yeah,
is Scarf.
Scarf. But so for me, I think I do think like A plus potentially. I think it is a very solid team with a lot of options. And so
Yeah.
like my main issue is probably again that this does have a little bit of an issue with like if you find someone who's hyper offensive, there I think like a hyper offensive Sun can be an issue, especially if they get something faster than Kilowattrel. That can
Yeah.
be annoying.
If anything is fast, like if there's like two threats, then Excelgor doesn't work. Because like the point of Excelgor on the team is like, oh, there's an offense team, let me just delete it. Um, and that works until there's like two Sun problems. So if it's like specifically the Zardwai Victini team, I could definitely see myself struggling with something like that.
Yeah.
Also, like Focus Sash on really offensive mons could be a problem.
Yeah. I think there are definitely ways to prep around this, so I don't think it's S tier or anything, but I do think it is a very solid team.
I think yeah, I'd say I barely missed out on S tier with this one. I am really happy with the draft. And Trubbish is a meme pick, but he doesn't affect my type chart in any meaningful way. So
Yeah. I do also want to point out that this was like the third draft plan that was made for this draft. So the fact it worked out this well is honestly kind of amazing.
I have a lot of experience making prep plans on the fly because of T-ball.
Fair.
all right, so
Okay,
we're
gentle thoughts on your own.
Yeah, I think top of A plus though. I do think I barely missed out on S tier, but I do think I barely missed out. I wish if Squirtle was War Turtle, I would actually argue for S tier, but my redirector isn't that good, unfortunately. Because originally I was gonna do an ET. I was gonna do Girder and War Turtle. I think that would have been an S tier team because then I have an actually good trigger mode and a better redirector. But I don't.
Yeah. Okay. So next we
Moving
have
on.
Spotted Loot and Gentle, I believe, is taking this one.
Yeah. So first off, I want to say, as someone who helped design a Fundy Salamence Mega team in a different division, very solid core. I think Goldengo is a great addition for that core. I think Electabuzz is a little awkward, but it's a good redirector. It's just awkward. and I like Arcanine. My problem is that all of these pieces do not function that great together. Like in my mind, I think anything with like Quake Slide is like a huge threat for this team. Like not only because Quake Slide is like a really good coverage combo, but because like you're really reliant on Electabuzz to set up properly. Um, I don't think there's like any inherent flaws with having like a small weakness to like a pretty common like coverage combo as long as you're covering it properly. But I don't think that like Thwacky really does that. I don't I don't understand a lot of low tier picks to be honest. I don't get Glimmet. Like full Pixelola doesn't really do much on this team because you're not really wanting to set Aurora Veil. Muck is fine. There's not really any abilities it wants to receive, but it also doesn't care about receiving abilities. It's more just like a generically good mon. Um, I would love for this team to have a Trick Room setter. That's like one of the like a Trick Room setter that's better than Jellicent, I guess is the better way to put it. I think this team's fine. I think there's like not in any inherent flaws. It's just like there's a couple of things that point out to me like Quake Slide and yeah, I'd say like the Mian Chao's an okay fake out user. It's just like not the type of fake out user I'd want on this type of team. I would want like a bulkier one, you know.
Yeah.
I'd
I
say like
basically, I basically agree with everything you said. I think it's generally a fairly solid core, but again, Quake Slide is a bit of a problem, which is annoying because it's not hard to find one mon on a team that can just do that pretty well. But overall, I think it's good. The core is strong. A little bit falls off in the lower tiers, but it can. I think you're able to prep pretty well with it. There's especially Goldango can be very annoying, but
goated mon.
again, overall, Quake Slide weakness is a bit annoying, especially because it's on a lot of the mons that you want to regularly bring. So, I think like B plus is probably where I'd go with it. I think it can do a lot, but it's not super hard to find things on another team that can prep well into it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would agree with most of that. Quake Slide was something I didn't even think about, but yeah, that's definitely a weakness here. I do think like their first like 3 or 4 mons are just really strong, like Thundy, Mance, Goldango, Arcanine. That's just a very strong core to have. Yeah, I would
Mm-hmm.
agree with the general consensus here of B plus.
Yeah, I think B plus is fair. I wouldn't say it's like the top of B plus, but I'd say like middle high end. So like I put it
It's a
right
solid
below
team.
or maybe above. I'd say above Toby's. I'd say above Toby's. Because Toby's is like yeah, no, I'd say above Toby's.
Above
Yeah.
Toby's? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because Toby's team is the like
Toby's is a size
Zam
man.
or die team. Yeah. It's the Zam or die team, which can work. It's just, it is Zam or die. So I think that this team's a little more consistent.
Alright,
Yeah, you start.
who's you? Is you me or is you,
Yes, yeah, yeah.
okay.
Sorry, Trunky start.
Uh, yeah, this is, I know, he wanted to do size spam originally, had to pivot to rain. I think he ended up with a pretty decent rain team. There are 3 waters on it. I don't think the grassers just aren't really all that great here. Like Tangela, Infernape's okay, but it's
Tangela's
not all that
good.
bulky. Neither is Grafii. But I think this team is like okay at what it wants to do, which is rain. Palafin's obviously really threatening with rain. Ludicolo is okay, and then Gardevoir Mega is still good without side spam. I don't think this is like an amazing team, but I think it's pretty solidly in B tier.
You get to use special Landorus with Sandsear Storm. Very epic. Um, I'm a big fan of special Landorus. That's kind of a whole other thing. I think this seems good. I don't think that the Tangela being a common grass resist is that bad actually, because like specifically, I think the lower tier a Rage Powder user is, the better Rage Powder is as a move. Because like, is it really worth it to prep goggles for an E or a D tier mon? Not necessarily, So a lot of people won't, and that means that you get more value out of Rage Powder. So I think like
Yeah.
Tangela is a perfectly good like redirect there.
Yeah, I
Um,
think also worth mentioning, Tangela does have 115 defense. So against
yeah,
any physical attacker, it is actually the legitimate redirector.
yeah, with Eevee Light, it's just very hard to kill the thing. The raid mode is fine. I just think that like the speed tiers are really the thing that's killing me. I really do not like the speed tiers because Grafaia's speed tier doesn't matter. It's a Prankstermon. And Fernape is a fire type on rain, so it's not going to be brought very much, which means that you have like 100s and then you have Ludicolo, and that's basically it for speed. Which is like it's fine, but like it's a very serious flaw in my opinion.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I think the speed's a bit weird. The only things you really have are like Infernape is decently fast, but it's really not hitting the tiers you need. Ludicolo, obviously, in Rain, and then Grafaiai if you can use with like Prankster being pseudo speed. But it's just one of those things where it's like, oh, for with a lot of these, if you have a team that you just hit a speed tier a bit higher than it, it's really annoying to deal with. I also think the Rain mode is one where it's like nothing on the Rain mode is really as strong as I want it to be. Palafin needs setup. Zapdos is
Mhm.
a really good mod, but it's not an overwhelming one. Same with Ludicolo. So it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, the Rain mode it's scary, but it's very much more manageable than like a super dedicated Rain mode is.
Yeah, I think Rain in general either requires you not commit to it at all, so you just have like Pelipper, Ludicolo, nothing else Rain related, or you have like a really hard committed Rain team. And I think this is somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. So I still think it's a very solid team. Like
Yeah.
realistically, the Mons here are all very good Mons, and I know Tridophobia is a very good player, so that does color my opinion of it because I
I'm
know
not
they
gonna
can
rank
do
the team
well with
off
it.
that. I'm not gonna rank the team off that though, personally.
Yeah. So, but it's just like, so it's like one of my problems that I would have with it is that I think it's like, oh, you can use these Mons wrong if you think they're overwhelming. I don't think they're going to do that. So,
That's true. I would give it an A tier regardless.
okay, yeah, it is solid. It very clearly has a lot of good tools, but I think there are teams that can clearly beat it if they have just the right speed tier,
I need to go put my
decent
clothes
prep.
in the laundry. Do you want to take a small remission so I can go get water and put clothes in the laundry? All right, we're on to pickle and radio. Is it my turn to start? I think it's radios. I think it's radio's turn to
Okay,
start.
I'll go for it. Uh, this team has no real megas, which I think is just Pinsir Mega and Absol Mega are fake as hell. Luckily, they have some other very good mons to somewhat make up for that. But I think not getting any of the good megas when like the megas are genuinely something you should be looking for is not great start. I also think on this team the speeds are very weird. There's no trick room mode like at all. Like
Carbink is a trick room
Carbink, I
setter.
guess,
Yeah,
can set trick room, but that's not a real trick room setter.
Slowpoke is
Uh,
kind of real because it is oblivious.
kind of. But TR mode isn't real. The Tailwind mode is reliant on Volbeat, which it's okay. You can bring it to a lot of matches. It will do stuff, but I don't think that's super great. And even in Tailwind, it's like you're relying on like Urshifu Rapid as your fastest thing in Tailwind, which is like if someone else has Tailwind, your team just doesn't have a lot of options. And it's very hard for me because it's like most of your team is fighting weak as well. Like the things that you really want to bring, just you can punch them real hard, and that's not an issue. So I don't know. I think like there's definitely stuff you can do with this. And if the opposing team lacks certain tools, like if they lack good speed control, then I think the team can do well. But I think like if the opposing team has speed control, it just gets so much harder to actually play against them because all of these you can bring very like role compressed stuff to beat most of this team. So I don't know. I think it's like I think B. It has a lot of good things, but that's such an overwhelming problem to me of not having great speed tiers and being very vulnerable to opposing speed control that it's just like
Yeah, I have mostly the same opinions. I think like Heatran's speed tier is always a lot lower than it looks because most of the time running max speed Heatran is throwing. So like you're gonna want to run bulk on Heatran a lot of time, which means it's not as fast as it looks, which means that it and Ursaluna can both get outsped by Scarfers while they're in Tailwind, which is pretty bad. I think this team is like really reliant on Tailwind, which isn't the greatest when you're using Ursaluna. So I and also like Volbeat, it's like a perfectly good like for B tier, it definitely does its job well. But it's like when you have Volbeat plus something, you have effectively one Mon worth of offensive output, and then the opponent has two. So like it can be really hard to like make that work. The reason that like Mons like Whimsicott or Torn work is because they actually have really good offensive pressure. You know, Whimsicott has Stab Moon Blast, and Stab Moon Blast is never bad. Torn has like Bleak Wind Storm. So like they can always do serious damage. Volbeat has like U-turn. It has like pounce. It's not that scary. And I think that means that like enemies can afford to get like really aggressive versus this type of team, which is not what you want when you're using stuff like Urshifu Excalibur. You know, you want to be the one doing the offense.
Yeah, I would like 100% be in agreement with everything you just said, or both of you just said. The this team like I feel like you just kind of there's not much you can do if your opponent has actual speed control. Like your fast mons are not
Yeah,
that fast. If your opponent has tailwind, they're probably gonna have stuff that just outspeeds them. There's
this
not
team's
really,
very
yeah,
passive turn one specifically.
yeah. Um, with that being said, stuff like Urshifu, Excalibur, Ursaluna are pretty strong. But I would still say it's probably B tier just because of how vulnerable it is to opposing speed control.
Yeah, the team just feels like good stuff. So that's how I would describe it. It's like the Reg D style of like good stuff. So you just shove a bunch of good Pokemon on a team and hope that it works, and that does work sometimes for sure. But like in draft specifically, that style tends to be a lot less good because it's more generic, and in draft, people will like be prepping specifically for it, so it's a little harder to get away with that. I don't think it's bad. I just think that like it's B tier. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd say. Do you want to say below Ronin or not Ronin? Excuse me. Do you want to say like below Riot?
I would honestly
Uh,
say
I
Funny.
mean, I'd probably rather
below.
run this team than Riot's team. So
That's
Yeah,
true. That's true. No, that's actually fair. That's fair. We could put it above Riot, below Bean. I
yeah,
think that's
that's
fair.
where I would put it. So last one, there you go. Okay, so Radio is next, or Radio's team is next. I don't know who's starting.
Yeah, I can start it.
Okay.
Actually, Shruggy, you should start because I helped make. I literally made this
Okay.
team, so
Yeah, I would say you
I'm
can
biased.
definitely tell that you two built together because this is
we're
like
basically.
basically the same exact thing where it's just balance.
Yeah, I
Um,
joked that we both have Kang.
yeah.
Kang in an S tier graphic.
I do really like that you have Mega Scizor and then like very good resist to fire. Like you got Tapu Fini and Arcanine and Gigalith. Um, Gigalith I think is okay here. Like you don't have a Sandmon, but I think that's fine. Gigalith is still just fine on its own. Scraggy is really good value. I like Electros. Maractus is ab, but it's a low tier pick, so it's not that big of a deal.
F tier, yeah.
Um, yeah, I think this is a pretty good team. I would say around A tier. I think it's a little bit reliant on like Mega Scizor and um, Ogerpon to be dealing damage, but I don't think that's terrible.
Yeah, I think this team's really solid. I think that the two main flaws are Tapu Fini as a tailwind setter is fine, but like it's not amazing. Scizor as a tailwind setter is fine, but it's not amazing. That's my biggest flaw. Is that Gigalith is on here not because it's a sand team, but because Gigalith is just a big ball of stats. That's the reason it's here. Is that it has like really good stats for the tier it's in. And that's all it really needs to do is like just be really fat and hard to remove. Um, Scizor, I think like the Scizor Fini like dynamic. My main issue is that they're both like kind of wanting setup in order to do like serious damage. Like Scizor really likes clicking Sword Stance, and Fini likes having Calm Mind or like setting Tailwind. So I think it's a little exploitable. But then you have like a really good follow me user in Ogerpon, and you have like really solid support for it with like scrappy fake out Kang and like Arcanine who can just like intimidate stuff and have those really strong overheats you sometimes need. I think it's like really well rounded for a balanced team. It's definitely a balanced team though. Like you cannot play anything other than balance of this team, but that's fine because it is just a balanced team.
Yeah, I mean that basically covers my thoughts. I do think damage output can definitely be a bit weird, especially because Scissor and Finny are relying on setup. And I think a good opponent can definitely identify that quickly and deal with that. So I do think it's solid. I like my draft because I'm happy to play balance, so I'm cool with that. But obviously the versatility comes in the sets. It does not come in the play style. The person knows what this match is going to be like.
Oh boy, I can't wait to get you turned on.
U turn.
I'd say above Topster. Do we say above Woot and B plus? I think B plus is fair.
I would
I'd
say
say I'd say above I'd say above Woot. I'd say above Woot personally.
What was Woots again?
Let me look, just to be sure that I'm not lying. Woots was the Salamence Thunderous team.
Okay, I would agree that's above that.
Okay, moving on to Shronky and Radial. I guess it's
it's your
Radio's
turn.
turn. Oh, is it? Okay. Uh, okay. So I also helped make Shrunky's team. If you can't tell, that's what I do a lot. I think it's just like really, really, really annoying. I think that's like the theme of this team is like, hey, what if I Ironhead flinch you with Thunderwave, idiot? What if I Dragon Dance and Nasty Plot on you, idiot? Like it's just like really annoying. And with like Grimmsnarl as like a support, I think that sort of like strategy of like, hey, what if I have like a billion things I can do and they're all really annoying? I think it works really well with Grimmsnarl specifically because of like Prankster, Farting Shot, Prankster, Thunderwave, and screens. And like there's like a lot of like really solid like somewhat bulky mons that like do really good damage, like Conkeldurr, Nidoking, and Rotom. They're like somewhat bulky, and then screens really help bring them over the edge of like being really hard to remove and doing really good damage consistently. Arrow is a pretty solid option for Tailwind, only because it's just like really fast and you just put a sash on it and call it a day. Jirachi has really crazy set variety. Like Jirachi can do so many things. It's kind of insane. Um, all of those sets are like on their own, like A plus tier sets rather than S tier. But because it has so many set variety, I think if you're like consistently using its set variety, you're not just running Follow Me every week. I think it does like a lot of like good stuff. Zard X is a really solid mega for this sort of team. It's just like really bulky and hard to remove. I really don't think there's like any major flaws. Um, yeah, Kecleon as a Trick Room setter isn't great, but like this team isn't supposed to have a Trick Room mode; it's supposed to counter Trick Room modes, and I think it works fine for that.
Okay, I'm of the. This is a hard team for me to judge because there's most of the mons on this team I don't individually respect. So, because like all of these mons, like a lot of them, like Grimmsnarl is probably the thing on this team that I respect the most, and it's fundamentally a support mon, which makes me hard to be like, oh, I think this team is really good. I do see the fundamental like concepts at play here, but it's just not stuff that I'm ever like, oh, I'm terrified of this. It's going to be an annoying match to play, but it's never something where it's like I feel like I'm going to be overwhelmed or that I'm not going to have a shot to play through it. So I don't know. To me, it's hard to quantify that into like a meaningful ranking, but that's just how I feel about it. I also think the lower tiers are kind of useless. I I don't Kecleon, like you're not really bringing that. Leafeon, you're not really bringing that. Zoro, Hisui, and Croconaw are going in the garbage can. So I don't know. It's just a team where it's like I feel like I don't know. I'm gonna play a balanced match against it probably most of the time, and I'm okay with that. That's not super threatening. It's definitely good, but it's highly reliant on player skill. I feel like to do really good.
Yeah, so it's F tier because it's Strong playing it.
With Shronky,
Probably
he said
You
it.
want
I
to give your
didn't.
own thoughts?
just strawberries.
You want to give your own thoughts, Strong? Oh, he's muted.
Um,
He must be doing something.
Oh, Shronky died because I made fun of him. My bad.
No! He exploded.
Very
I can't believe Strongky
decisive
had
and all that.
Darkfu Mega Gengar Core last season and didn't make playoffs. It's truly legendary to do that.
Yeah,
Like,
Shronky, thoughts on your own team?
Yeah, I just basically the goal was to like not have let anybody else have fun playing in my league, and I think I did an okay job of that. I feel like I'm fine with like the top like 6 or 8 mons on my team. The low tiers, I would agree with the radio said it falls off. Leafeon, I'm not upset about because like it can maybe do stuff in the Sun matchup. It can maybe like Stars Dance and win a game, and I don't know how
yeah.
much more I can really ask out of a D tier grass. Um,
Choice band Chlorophyll X Scissor to one shot opposing Chlorophyll users.
True. Yeah, the Aerodactyl I was actually really happy to pick up because I think it's the fastest non-prankster Tailwind user. I don't believe Jugulus or Roaring Moon got drafted.
No, they
Jugulus
did. Jugulus did. Jugulus did.
Did Who got Jugulus?
Jugulus is coded in A tier. I don't know why it wouldn't be drafted. Well, I guess
Is
I
it
wouldn't know
not
why.
drafted? I feel like it might not have, and we're just
I
It
dumb.
might have been in Palkia.
I know
yeah,
it was in
it was-
Palkia. I don't
yeah,
think it was
Palkia,
in
so
Dialga.
Oh, yeah, it's only in Palkia.
wild.
Yeah. I feel like the main flaw is that it's pretty reliant on setup. Like Spectre does okay damage out of Nasty Plot. It really wants a Nasty Plot or to take a kill and get Grenade before it starts doing actual damage. Zard still, I guess, hits pretty hard with a Tough Claws Flare Blitz, but realistically, it wants to Dragon Dance.
It does.
Conkeldurr needs to kind of get Guts or like run Iron Fist, and I think most time you'd rather just run Guts. So that's still technically set up.
Yeah.
The only thing that's really doing damage out setup is Nidoking. What else did I want to? Oh, I was talking about Aerodactyl.
I think bottom of B plus is where I put this. Like it's got a lot of good mons. They don't they're kind of independent. It's really just Grimsnarl tying everything together, but they're all good mons on their own. I think it's like a B plus team, barely. Do you agree with that, Radio?
I'll accept that.
Okay. So now we're
Okay.
on to Krang and Morbik. Those are the
We
last two.
didn't do radial, I don't
We
think,
didn't
unless
Oh,
you
do
you
guys
guys
did
did
that while I
radial.
radio.
was
Did
muted.
radio. Oh, you know what? I thought it was because it was radio. My brain was like,
No.
oh, we already did radio. I the thing happened. Um, I
Finally.
I think radio should start the radio.
Okay. This is a rain team that does not have a real rain setter.
Yeah.
It has Illumise, but I'm gonna be real. That's not. This is a team that went hardcore on rain and then just did not get a real rain setter.
He just didn't feel like it.
Which, yeah, no, he had the chance to get Polytoad multiple times.
Like
He just
three
said no.
times. Yeah.
Which, you know what, respect. But also, like, a lot of the mons on this team, Pheasantipity, I think, is ass. Togedemaru is
Mhm.
like, you can use it, I guess. Quillfish Hisui is another fucking weird rain mon, but like, why are you using that? You already have plenty of really good rain mons. Entei's here, but Entei cannot do things in rain. Entei,
I think it's part of a Sun Motive Screamtail, but yeah.
yeah, but like, it's just so weird. Like, there's so many mons here that where it's like, it's not coherent, I feel like, and a lot of the mons are just borderline useless. So I'm not high on this team at all. I think this is a C tier team. It has good mons, but none of them are doing things together that they really want to do.
I I have to agree, and it hurts me because Megapert is not a C tier team mon. It is very hard to make. Like, if you get any rain setter with Megapert, it is easily A or S tier value. I don't know why it's in B tier. But like somehow he didn't get a rain setter, so Megapert is just not good outside of rain. It's just a mon with a quad weakness that's relatively slow.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, just draft Politoed and then
Yeah,
Screamtail.
like you don't need Palafin. You just drop Palafin for Polytoad and accept that you need a rain setter.
Yeah, and I just think Screamtail and Entei are just not good here. Like, there's not really a need to have the Sun mode, so I'd rather have um, things that support the rain mode there rather than those two. I guess Screamtail is not terrible, but definitely prefers to be in Sun.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I mean, Screamtail is not something like with a team that's trying to most of the mons that you have that are your like very like actually high value mons are trying to be really aggressive. I don't think Screamtail is necessarily the best at doing those because it's like Screamtail you have to really wait a turn before you get to doing really useful stuff with it most of the time. And for a lot of these, if you fuck up on that first turn, then it's like, oh, you've lost the mons that actually do things.
Yeah, and I kind of it's not like a necessity, but I think trapping makes Screamtail worth it for the tier it's in for S tier. Like you need trapping to really get full value out of it, and there's no trapping, so that sucks.
No trapping.
Actually, Whirlpool.
So true. Whirlpool Swampert Mega is actually the way forward.
Yeah, I think I agree on it being C tier. Unfortunately, Radial has done the impossible and made a Megapert team C tier.
do we think I would put this in the middle, like above
I honestly think it's
Phrasable
worse than
Evade.
Joseph's.
It's worse. I can accept
What do
that.
you think, Radio?
I think it's better than Joseph because I think
Okay.
Elam Mise can do like set up rain stuff and do better.
Yeah, I
than,
guess. I guess
It's
that's
just
true.
I just don't like it.
Yeah, it's really linear and bad, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't work sometimes. Pheasantipity is here for beat up, by the way. I don't know if anyone knows this. Pheasantipity, it gets beat up, and I must make this public so that Radio will have less.
Yeah, but then you have to bring Pheasantipity.
Yeah, I know you're already on the back foot. All right, now we have Krang and Morbik. I helped make Krang's team, so I prefer to not start on this one. So I guess it's Ronki's turn.
Okay. Yeah, this is basically just Chiam Pao and then strong physical attacker. I guess is the main most. Got Perish Trap too, but I don't think like Dugong and Meloette are like particularly good Parasongers. Um, but like the Chiam Pao mode is very strong. Like Chiam Pao Iron Hands, Chiam Pao Zygarde Dog um, can be really strong. The low tiers I think are not terrible. Scraggy's definitely usable. Mastodon is definitely usable in the right matchup. Um,
I'll hold my breath.
But I just I don't think it's like really strong outside of the like Champa mode. I don't really like the Parish mode. I don't really like Moltres, Gorgeist. I just don't think are very good. Um, but with that being said, the Champa mode is very strong, and I would still definitely put it in A tier, maybe even A plus tier. Like Chiampao Parish is just good in general, even if I'm not the biggest fan of the Parish mode.
Yeah, I generally agree. I think the parish mode has definitely quite a few flaws. And like I see what they're going for, but it's also like this team I think would be better if they were just using the really good mons that they had most of the time. I think most of the time if you bring parish in this, unless it's like the perfect parish mashup, you probably just rather be using Chen Pao Iron Hands or Chen Pao Mawile. So
Yeah.
it's like I still think it's good. I think it's probably A tier just because those tools are very strong and they're very good. It's really annoying to beat Iron Hands and Mawile. Those are just two
Yeah.
mons that are really hard to stop before they blow a chunk through your team.
And
Again,
Moltres
I
has
don't agree with Bastiodon being real, but I do think Scraggy and Dewgong are
yeah.
probably some of the
I
best low
just
tier pickups.
Yeah,
um
Bastiodon, I like Kragan was like, hey, I hear you. I hear you with your advice on the E tier. I'm gonna get Bastiodon instead because I like it. And I'm like, all right, cool.
They
I
really
mean,
are
I,
chasing the Lyron
yeah,
high.
they
yeah,
really
that
truly
was
are.
my thoughts too.
For those who don't know, in a league that I run, Leiron got like 30 something kills in an NFE league. So they're after that high again. I would say this is like low A tier though. Like it's just really hard to mess up Chen Pao. Oh, Radio has to go. He's out of time.
Uh, rip.
Mm. One person left and he has to go. So sad. Oh well. We already talked about Warwick ahead of time, so at least I know his thoughts on that.
Okay.
So why don't you start since I know the
Yeah, I'll
thoughts.
start. I'm just not sure what this team is doing. If I'm
Yeah.
totally honest,
Yeah.
there's not really like any good synergy. I don't think it has a real trick room mode. The Tailwind mode is fine. Like Landorus Murkrow is fairly strong. The type chart's kind of not great too. Like there's a couple of overlaps here.
I
Um,
mean, it's okay.
but I don't know. I just it's just hard for me to figure out what it does, and it's hard for me to give it a good rating for that reason. So I would say like
Yeah, I mean,
low B
yeah.
probably.
I think lower than that. I think this team has basically zero synergy between its pieces. Like it's basically just Murkrow Tailwind for stuff, and that's like where the synergy stops. Like there's not really like the rain mode is like Landorus clicking Sandsear Storm more accurately, and like Galvantula clicking Thunder more accurately when it already has compound eyes. And then like I guess Gastrodon, but if you're running like Murkrow Gastrodon as a rain mode, it's gonna just get annihilated by like any Pokemon because it's so slow and
Mm.
has quad weakness. So like that's not great. I don't really get Serena. There's not anything here that's like so offensive you need to block Fake Out. And then like you'd be like, all right, maybe Serena supports the Tricker mode, but then they have Mimikyu, so it's like, why do you need Serena? Serena's doing basically nothing here. Like it's still a good mon. It's just like you're not using its ability very well. Mega Altaria is like it's for the tier it's in, it's a fine Pokemon, but as your only Mega, I think it's bad. Um, there's like a lot of type overlap. There's two Fairy types, two Dragon types, two Dark types, and like type overlap can be fine. Like it can be fine, but it's more like it's really hard to justify ever bringing Drapion. It's really hard to justify like ever bringing Altaria when you have like Gudra. Like I just think it's like really awkward this team. I feel like there's very little going on here. And then there's speed tiers also. Like it's worth mentioning that the speed tiers are pretty bad. Like literally 2/3 of their team is in the 80 to 110 range, and that's like a very common range for Scarfers to outspeed. So like that you're just gonna get outsped by literally every Scarfmon. So like super reliant on Murkrow, kind of the same problem that like it's a similar problem that the Pickle team had, except
Yeah,
that it's like just got worse mons. So
yeah.
it's like not. It's like yeah, it's super reliant on its tailwind setter, and then what? You tailwind and then you click Sandsear Storm and then do 80% to both mons and die. Which is like yeah, not the greatest. Also, 80% is me being generous. I think it's like high C tier. I would put it above Frazeal, but not. No, honestly, I wouldn't. I would put it above Radial though. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't actually. I'm thinking about it. I think Radial's is slightly better.
I feel
just
like
because I
the
respect other
Radials like
people.
actually has stuff that it can do that's strong, even if like
Yeah.
it's not all that reliable, and this team just doesn't really have that.
Now the discussion is Joseph's or Morbek's team the vote.
I think
What
Joseph
did
just
I
kind of
do?
has a little bit better mons, a little bit better value.
Yeah, I mean, like we talked about side spam being like the single worst thing to pair with Kingambit, and that's true. But it is also like you don't have to bring in DD Mail. So like in that sense, I think this team at least has less anti synergy than. Yeah, I honestly think Vank's team is better. I
Okay.
apologize, Morbek.
Yeah.
I thought we'd have an S tier team in this division. It felt like it in my heart. I think we could argue Comte for A+, not just because it makes the type chart look better, but because it was already an edge case.
That's what I mean.
I think Combs gets A+. I don't think my team or Combs really gets S, but I do think that they're both like pretty solid. Yeah, this looks right to
Um,
me. We could move Radio to A tier, so that we can get accused of bias, but that's the only reason we do it.
no, we should put all of our teams in C tier.